single thing. They even had the Christian with the Catholic guy, or whoever he was, with the crucifix, and and then they were calling her.
Oh, blasphemy.
It was, and
So
then
I think that's
obviously there were things we couldn't
right.
talk about yesterday
Yeah.
because the things were so deplorable and
And I think it's
so
important.
horrible.
What's important is that everyone is talking about the comedian. That was the tone throughout the entire thing. I think
Yes.
that you have to talk about what Giuliani said. You have to talk about what all of these people said, because I think everybody's not understanding that the theme of this entire hate rally was across the board, and everyone was making all of these comments. So it's the entire thing. It's like we need to make them own that it's not just that one incident. It's everything that was said during that time. Everything. Everybody got up there, talked about hate. What did they talk about? That really programs and plans. What a policy. None of that.
No, not one policy, not one thing to help people. But again, and again. And guess what? And we all know there are going to be Puerto Ricans, Latinos that are still going to vote for Trump.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though there's something, I learned this morning that Steve Miller is Jewish. I did not know Steve Miller was Jewish because he has Nazi tendencies.
Yeah,
right? And it seems to be that all of these people also hate themselves or hate people like themselves. They hate immigrants, but they are truly from immigrants. It's the same thing people, about Hitler. Hitler was Jewish, but he hated Jews.
Right. He hated that part of himself, right?
Yeah, they hate themselves on some kind of crazy psychotic level. That how could you have immigrant children marry immigrant wives, but yet hate immigrants so much?
Right. And I think all the two of his wives were immigrants.
Yes.
The current wife can barely speak clear English, so she there's no doubt about who she is, right?
Let's bring Gwendolyn
not to say anything negative about that, but then when you go to the fact, here's the part that people have to understand. That so many people don't realize. Puerto Ricans are Americans.
Yes.
They are Americans.
They're not immigrants. They are Americans.
They are Americans. They don't have to get a passport or a visa to come here. They are Americans. And there are over 1 million of them in Florida. I hope some of the ones who have not voted already, like this one man I watched on TikTok, I promise you, is black man. It's hilarious. He said, you cannot make this stuff up. He said, my Trump supporting friend called me yesterday and asked me, can I get my vote back? He said, oh, so you voted earlier, that you can't get your vote back.
Too late.
From the start, it's too late. You already did the damage. But that's the thing, is like a lot of people, when you listen to them, because he was so ignorant the first time when he was throwing paper towels over there, that he did not understand that they were Americans himself.
Well, here's part two.
Let's all take the trash out.
Let's all take the trash out on trash collection day is November 5th. Welcome, Gwendolyn. So good to see you. I see you got your workout on. You did your thing this morning, and here you are to join us. Grace us with
I just walked in the door, and I was like, Ron sent me this link again. I know we had a conversation.
I'm always going to send you the link. Just in case you want to come on.
Yeah. You know what? Because I couldn't get in yesterday. But what's great about taking these walks is just having these thoughts, go through your mind and sort of trying to wrap your arms around where we are today. So, and I also say a couple of prayers because the Lord knows I need all my patience right now. But it's what Adrian said, because I had the exact same thought, and we've talked about it. That, 45 wouldn't be where he is if there wasn't people who felt the way he feels.
Yes, right.
And somewhere along the line, back in the 90s, we wanted to be politically correct. And all these folks went underground and found their safe circles because they just couldn't say what they really want to say. Now, you and I, Ron, we have worked together. I know that there were people who worked with me who tolerated my presence, right? Because I was one of the good niggas. So they worked with me for that reason. But truth be told, right now, as I am watching these people in different social media spaces come out the woodwork with the most ridiculous things, I'm like, look, just say what you really want to say. It's okay. I'm okay with it. Yeah. I don't mind if you're a bigot, misogynist, sexist, racist, all the things. Be all the things. Do it well and be all the things. But at least I know who I'm dealing with. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask. So all those people who were in Madison Square Garden laughing and clapping for the most disgusting side. But think about it. This is America.
Yes.
This is who we are. This is who we've always been.
Yes.
And they're just wrapping their arms around it. You know, sad as it is, will we ever get rid of it? No.
Never.
Yeah.
Hate runs
deep.
Hate
is hate.
And self-hate runs even deeper. Absolutely. Like, I mean, think about it. I mean, there are women who absolutely hate women. Hate it. And I'm like, sis, we got the same things going on. No, they want the world of a woman to be as miserable as possible.
Their world. Probably
because they wish they were a man. I don't know. Like there's a whole psychological thing that I don't know. But this is where we are. But now that we know who we're dealing with, the question is, what we gonna do?
Yeah,
that's the question. Because whether the person I am backing gets in the office or not, these people are still here.
They are with us.
This ridiculousness is still here. This blazing, I can just say whatever I want to say and not get popped in the mouth. That is still here. Now, I don't know. Like I keep saying, I'm too cute to go to jail.
Yeah, you know, look, I look good.
To find me and make me her bitch. I mean, I don't know.
Gwendolyn, I look good in orange. Orange is one of my best colors.
Maybe we go together.
I promise you, if something goes the wrong way, I'm gonna be wearing orange, and it won't be on my face.
Oh my gosh! So let me take you to the next video. This was Anna, also in The View. The View was on fire yesterday, and rightfully so on this topic.
As they should have been.
And here comes Anna with her.
Election day is November 5th, 2024. Don't forget it.
You know, today when I was leaving the hotel, there was a woman there, and she started talking to me about this rally. And I said to her, "Are you Puerto Rican?" And she said to me, "No, but today we are all Puerto Ricans."
Right.
And so I want to say, and he didn't just make jokes about Puerto Ricans.
No, he did.
He made jokes about blacks.
Yep.
You know, the whole trope about watermelons. He made jokes, a vile joke about Latinos that we can't even put on daytime TV.
Yep.
So today we are all in this together. And I'm going to say this particularly to my Latino community. If Trump asking for the death penalty for 5 young men of color, Black and Latino, the exonerated 5 wasn't enough for you. If Trump getting investigated for refusing to rent to Black people wasn't enough for you. If Trump promoting a racist trope against the first Black president with the birtherism wasn't enough for you. If Trump calling Mexicans rapists and criminals and bad hombres wasn't enough for you. If Trump calling us vermin, invaders, people who poison the blood of this country wasn't enough for you. If Trump throwing paper towels at people in need after Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico wasn't enough for you. If Trump saying immigrants have made this country into the trash can of the world wasn't enough for you, then maybe, just maybe, this comedian, handpicked, chosen, vetted by the Trump campaign because he reflects what Trump has said his entire lifetime, maybe that will be enough for you. And on November 5th, I want you to vote for your heritage and your traditions and your identity. I want you to vote with dignity and self-respect. Latinos, comunidad, si ustedes tienen respeto por sí mismos, si tienen dignidad, defiendan esa dignidad y usen sus votos el 5 de noviembre para sacar a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, she went in, and rightfully so. But again, we know that there are going to be Puerto Ricans and Latinos, because for some reason, Latinos, and I have friends that are Cubans, I have friends that are in Puerto Rico. Most of my Spanish friends are from Puerto Rico or from Dominican Republic. I have a lot of Spanish friends. And there's all these sex among them that they're like, they don't like, this one don't like this one, and this one don't like the Dominican, Dominicans don't like this one, the Puerto Ricans. I mean, there's all of that. And we have that still, and also in the Black community. But at the end of the day, we are all people of color. And again, do you really think when the stormtroopers come to your house to pull you out to deport you, you're going to say, hey, I am Cuban. I am not a Mexican. Whoa, you can't take me. No, they're coming after everybody. And after they finish with the Cubans, once they finish with the Mexicans, once they finish with the Dominicans, once they finish with they finish with everybody, then they coming for the Blacks, then they coming for those in America, then they come for the African. It doesn't end, because hate does not end. Hate does not end. It keeps feeding on itself. It keeps feeding on how can we destroy others to promote ourselves and make ourselves more powerful, or what we see in our what we think in our heads is making us powerful. I mean, think about it. I mean, because I've seen, for instance, like you think about Florida. How many Spanish people love Trump? Because they don't think that they're Spanish in some ways. They're not like the other Spanish or Latinos.
Yeah, typically a lot of the Cubans, especially the lighter Cubans, they're more assimilated into the white culture because of the complexion of their skin. Because I've met a lot of Black Afro-Cubans who tell a different story about their experience in Cuba. So there are different stories coming out of what life is like in Cuba, like free education, so that they can end up being educators while they were in Cuba. So, and then looking at it, first of all, this is the biggest thing that we all have to understand. If you are not a white male in this country, you are all in the same bucket together. Mm-hmm. That includes the white woman. We're all in the same bucket. Because she, at the end of the day, they don't even want her to vote, and she knows they're coming for her.
Yes,
because they've already said they're coming for her. And then you look at, when you look at the Latinx community, Puerto Ricans are Americans, so they're not going to be deported, y'all. So the other people, y'all need to understand, even though they highlighted them, the ones he's talking about, particularly, I want people to pay attention to the birtherism issue. Mm-hmm. The birthright issue.
Birthright.
That means that if your parents came into this country as immigrants, your parents came in and they had you and you're one of their anchor babies. You're a baby who was born in America. The citizenship piece they're coming for is yours.
Under Project 2025.
They're deny your citizenship. They're going to say you're not a citizen of this country. That's what they're talking about. That's that Dred Scott thing. That's the one they were trying to pull out the hat and try to use against Kamala Harris. Yes. They are coming for you. So you say, oh, well, I was born here. It doesn't matter. Were your parents born here? Your parents were immigrants to this country. They've decided that country is not where they want people to come from. So they're going to take away your right to citizenship through that birthright clause. And you can be deported with your parents want to be deported by themselves. You're going to go with them. Mm-hmm. Please understand that, people.
Yes. Man.
And for Black people, that piece in the Constitution exists in that 14th Amendment because we were at one point not citizens, particularly Black people from enslaved Americans like myself. Mm-hmm. We were not citizens of this country. In order for us to get our citizenship, that was put in there.
The amendments.
As we watch and we vote, remember that point, that the quote that Brian likes to recite. I didn't say anything because it wasn't me. But when they came from me, who was there to defend me?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're all sitting here defending people who don't all look like us, who don't all speak like us, who don't all come from where we come from. We are sitting on this platform right now, not looking out just for ourselves, not voting for someone because they're simply a Democrat. We're voting for someone who's going to ensure that we have freedom come January of 2025, that every American has the right to freedom. Everyone who has come into this country and who has been a naturalized citizen or born into this country has the right to remain in this country. No one has the right. No one will be put on a ban. No Muslims will be put. There won't be a Muslim ban. There will be conversations on how we move forward.
Yes.
That's what we're fighting. We're fighting for that right to have those conversations after this election. And we're voting not just for a president, we're voting for a House and a Senate that will allow us to move forward and not go backwards to where all of us that are in that bucket. And I'm gonna repeat, that's anyone who is not a white male, and a particularly white Christian male living in this country. We're all in the same bucket.
Amen. We are here. This is, and this is why, this is why we have these conversations. I'm so glad we have a community we can come and just talk and chat and get this, because you need camaraderie, you need community, you need teamwork, team spirit as we all work together to make this a better country. You may say, I'm just one person. Every person can make a difference. Wherever you are, wherever your platform, whatever you're doing, don't ever underestimate the power of you when you are on the right side of history, when you are fighting for other people, when you're fighting for other people's rights, when you're looking and speaking out against, I call it an evil, because prejudice is evil.
Mm-hmm.
Being racist is an evil. Why would you hate someone because of the color of their skin? Something that God created them. God gave them that color of their skin. And you running around, I hate black people, I hate Spanish people, Italians, whoever you hate. Because again, there's people that hate themselves. A lot of times they hate themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was agreeing with them. Power Muslim is not a race of people. It's a religion.
Yeah. It's a religion.
Right. And that's what, and the part that always gets me is that when I listen to people and I watch people when they talk about the Palestinians, right? Everybody, the majority of people think they're all Muslim. They're not.
Yeah.
I know that's what people think, because they want women not to wear their head covered. They're not all Muslims. There are lots of Christians over there.
There's Christians in the Middle East. There are Christians in what we think are Muslim countries. There are Christians that live in Muslim countries.
A lot of them. And so I think that's one of the problems we have, is people assuming so much about people and painting that, and when they say that about the ban, it's talking about people who are coming from countries. And let's be clear, it's going to only be specific people, because they love Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
It's only going to be about certain countries, and not going to be every country.
We're not going to block that money.
Jared Kushner has gotten lots and lots of money from the Saudis. Mm-hmm. And they're still in relationship with the Saudis.
Mm-hmm.
So I have you guys here, and anyone can come on. Remember, you can scan that little code right here, our little barcode here, if you want to pop on. Do you think that this Madison Square Garden, especially the vile words for Puerto Ricans, do you think that's going to have an impact on this election?
Yes and no. No, because if you've already voted, right?
So the ones that are right.
Yeah, okay. So it's not going to move. And when I say yes, I don't want to say that it's going to impact the election per se. Mm-hmm. What it will do, though, is we are at a place that when like you and I have talked about it, right? Someone decided to hold up the mirror to see both sides of America, and the ugliest side was on display for all the world to see, because anyone outside of this bubble is like, what is wrong with you people? Like, what is that? Right? So at this point, this is where your part about community and being an individual comes into play, if you've got people in your immediate circle, whether they're associates, friends, family, whatever, colleagues, and they are like, well, it wasn't that bad. That's your spot to not have that conversation. Now, everybody doesn't feel great having that conversation. We are past the points of letting stuff just slide. There's got to be some accountability here. And it's not so much as I am judging you. It's like, I want to understand what exactly was said that you didn't think was offensive and not so bad. Right. Because going back to your point, Ron, the good Lord put us here. Now, my mama didn't told me he ain't made no mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So why are you so religious and so right telling me that the good Lord made a mistake over here? Like, I got to make that make sense, because it's not adding up for me. When we start having those conversations and people have to now look in the mirror and say, wow, I'm really that person. Yes, that's you, sis. That's you, bruh. Then maybe, just maybe, we'll start making some change that needs to happen. You're not going to do it on a big scale. It's like a small fire. You got to start a little smoke. And where there is smoke, there is action, right? And then it picks up. But if everybody starts having this conversation versus letting things just slide, right, then perhaps we'll see something. And too many of us have just said, well, I don't want to have that tough conversation. Holding your counterparts, your family members accountable for their hate is not a hard conversation. No, it's not. Like I said, there are people in my family who are not invited to my house ever, let alone my space. Right. We are not doing it. We're not doing it. If you want to hold on to it, have at it, kid. But you can't sit at my table. Now, I love you dearly, but you can't sit at my table. So there are some colleagues who I used to work with who I'm looking at sideways. And I have made comments on their Facebook posts. They have yet to respond. Because I need to know. You need to tell me exactly what it is. Like I said, you can do what you want to do, but please don't act like there's just no way that I can be that person. I'm going to call you out every single time.
And because you do.
If you are hurting me and mine, we got problems.
Well, the whole thing is you sit there. You look. Y'all. Some of my friends know. I share my thoughts on Facebook with some. I don't really engage on Facebook a lot, but I do because it's usually connected to my Instagram. But again, I am always blown away. I grew up in church. I grew up in a church that was non-denominational, multi-ethnic, racially mixed. And some of those folks that I grew up with, as a young adult in my 20s, and the stuff I would see there and how they are all some of these people are Trump followers and hardcore Trumpers. And it just said, it just shifts your brain and say, wait a minute, how did these people worship in the same congregation with all these Black people in it and Spanish people in it? And, we had Latinos, we had people from every part of the Caribbean. And it was a really melting pot. And you sat there and said, how did some of these folks, and some of them, to be sad to say, are Latinos themselves that hate.
Yes.
That hate. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. How are you on the Trump bandwagon when you are Latino?
Because they don't think it impacts them. They think they somehow in their head. Maybe that's what happens when you in a cult. You have this reality distortion. So it's not you. And I think one of the things we have to realize when we're in spaces with lots of people wear masks all the time.
Yeah.
They wear masks all the time. So the people are revealing to you that you didn't know about. They're just showing you who they were all the time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're showing you. They're showing you who they are. And so they were in there performing at church. They were looking at church and they were going home and talking about the people that they just saw. Yes. So and having them understand, look, I don't have time for these people. And they talked about the people. They talked about you. They talked about everybody that wasn't them. And I think that and I think with me, I've always been that person. Like I was telling my husband the other day, I don't know where parts of me come from as far as how I look at the world. But
I'm that person too, Elise.
I've never looked at people and assumed that they were all in favor of me.
Mm.
They are who they are. And I've had a pretty good grip on who people are. I was the one that was never hesitant. As I told my boss, a white male principal, I told him, you know, that you're racist, right? And I made him confront that. And to this day, if you meet him, he'll tell you that I made him confront the fact that he was a privileged man with racist tendencies. Worked very hard on that and acknowledging that. But I never hesitated to remind people of their racism. And I think that's when we are quiet in those spaces. As an administrator, I did a whole training on microaggressions for my staff. Did some of the people in the room get uncomfortable? Yes. White woman said, well, we don't do this. And the other white, I didn't have to say anything because her white colleague told her, yes, we do. That's how we talk to Black people. He corrected it. I didn't have to say anything. But the point was to say it. We cannot continue to sit silently. I was never the one silent. And too many of us are always, we do like they say, well, you know, at the core, they're good people. You're not, why are you good? That's who you are. When the mask comes off, you show me your core.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at the core, they were never the people you thought they were.
Rosemary said, did you see this? And this was something I was looking for the cue here, but I was trying to look for the actual footage from yesterday, 2 days ago, where they have a round table at CNN. CNN is really pissing me off. I tell you, I cannot sit through a CNN round table. It makes me so angry that these people, and it's the moderator. The moderator does not know how to control the discussion. And then she does not know how to put people in their place.
I just want to snatch her.
And then some people, they shouldn't even be on the platform. So yesterday, Rosemary brings to our attention, did you guys hear the exchange last night on CNN when a journalist told another journalist, I hope your beeper doesn't go off? Because they were having an exchange about ethnic group. It's because he's Muslim. He comes from a Muslim background, comes from a Muslim country.
Oh, wow.
He used to be he was one of the anchors at MSNBC. Anyway, so they're having this exchange, and this other guy, the other journalist says, well, you know, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. Meaning, you remember what happened in the Middle East when Israel set off those beepers and they all blew up.
Right.
And she said, I missed it, but my husband recorded. It was crazy. It was crazy. And you just sat there and said, and CNN has a problem with this. They do this all the time. Like they have that other guy, Scott, whatever his name is, and he's a Republican. No, I should say Republican because he's a mega, extremist, and he should not be on the panel. These people are crazy.
So I want to remind everyone.
Yes.
What I've been saying forever about media and who owns media.
Yes.
CNN hired someone to be on the executive level.
Yes.
Who is a MAGA person, who's an extremist. So did the Washington Post. They hired someone out of Rupert Murdoch's British office to be an executive at the Washington Post, who was one of the main people saying that they weren't going to support anyone for president. They weren't going to make the presidential statement. They came from there.
Yes.
So they have all integrated into these infiltrated. I'm going to say infiltrated these spaces. So they have a voice under the pretense of, we have to hear everyone. We don't have to hear misinformation. We don't have to hear hatred. You can go to Fox for that.
Yes.
You don't have to hear that on mainstream media. That to me is something that we have to be cognizant of. And it goes back to what Dr. Tachi said. This is about money. These organizations are owned by billionaire majority white men.
Yes.
That's who owns them. That's who wants the tax break to not end in 2025.
Well, also speaking of And at least speaking of the rich people, the rich owning these platforms, when Jeff Bezos stopped the endorsement of the Washington Post endorsement of Kamala Harris at the last minute, people are saying, and this is and Mika was on The View yesterday. Also, she was sharing this part. I'll probably bring it up later. But she was saying how much. She said, "Wait a minute, if Trump is not even president yet,
right?
If he was to become president, and these people are already yielding out of fear to change their policies and change things around." And just on a sidebar, I was listening to some Washington Post journalists. They were saying, please do not stop supporting us. Because the Washington Post was bought by Bezos, but they are especially, they still are the journalists. And they said, if you're going to withhold your funds or your support for Jeff Bezos, make sure you take it out on Amazon.
Amazon, absolutely.
They said take it out on Amazon, but please do not, because they said we still want to do strong journalism. We still want to get out there and tell the truth about what's going on in the world, and we still have to support our journalistic papers. Like even though I think and the editor resigned from the Washington Post, and then the other one from I think it was the LA Times.
Los Angeles Times.
So the Los Angeles Times. So this is a struggle because these corporate people, these rich billionaires, own these platforms.
Right.
And they are now pushing their will on truth and journalism.
Yeah, and I think that, the part is, no matter what we do, people are involved, right? So my funny story is my daughter, we had a package come to the door, and it was an Amazon package for my daughter. I say, excuse me, did somebody order something from Amazon in here? Because I will not. And I know you can't hurt them with the paper, because we get the Washington Post here. My husband has been getting it. So I was asking, so what you got to do? But anyway, that wasn't but he's already talked about how he's already cut what's in the paper. Like there used to be a kids section. There have been things that have changed in the paper, because he's not a journalist. He doesn't.
No, he's not a journalist. He knows nothing about journalism.
Right. He just bought something.
It was another toy. Well, welcome, Dr. Tachi. We caught you laughing.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
Miss Elise said, I'm sorry. Did somebody order Amazon in here? I was looking around like, do I have Amazon in my house? That's how much I felt it. Wow.
I got rid of my Amazon last month, but this is before the event. But I'm like this. Now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold off on getting my Amazon back. But because I got rid of Twitter, I got rid of Amazon. Yeah, so
that's the thing. I want to go right to what Ron just said. I'm gonna hold on getting it back. What they have learned about us as a Black community is that they can trash us all day long. They can disrespect us anytime they get ready, and we'll say, "Oh, we're not going to do that," but they know we're going to come back.
They coming back.
As I told the group, there's something called there are these marinages, a petite marinage, and marinage is when you escape slavery. A petite marinage is when you escape and come back. So we escape what they're doing, but we come back. We don't hurt anyone.
It's like the drug. It's a drug.
We benefit them.
Yeah.
Yes. And the whole thing is
doesn't matter where you go. Designers have insulted us. Everybody has insulted us.
Yes.
We've been up in arms.
We keep coming back.
You keep coming back. Football insulted you.
Yes, NFL. One of my friends. Oh, I think, is it you, Gwendolyn? Is it your husband?
My
will not look at the NFL.
My cousin's retired. Yeah.
Will not go back to the NFL.
And look at what happened Sunday when the one photobombed the video so he could show off his MAGA hat from the 49ers.
I saw that.
He wasn't fired like Colin Kaepernick was for being silent and taking a knee. And no one's calling for him to be thrown out either. So we got the system. But you know what? I know my husband will be watching football.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking at him like, really? But they know that's who you are. Go ahead, Dr. Tachi.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Tachi. We got the media guru in the building.
Please help us, Jesus. And Dr.
I don't know if I have the power to help like Jesus does.
I said, and Dr. Tachi.
Help us like Dr. Tachi can.
Yes, yes, I'll try. So, well, to Miss Elise, to your point, absolutely, they know we'll keep coming back, which is why they're not worried. And even if we don't come back, even if it's not us, never mind Black people, there are still enough people who need and will use all of those things from an Amazon or Twitter, that they're not necessarily worried, because the point is that they have the market cornered in some way that we feel that there's no other way. And we have become so used to underpaying for things. Yes, there are a lot of things that are expensive, but you know good and damn well that some things shouldn't be $2 and we're paying $2 for it. And we don't think about the consequence of what it took to make that $2, who is not getting paid so that you can pay $2 for it. Right. So we turn a quote blind eye to it. And we rationalize, just like they on the other side try to rationalize things. We rationalize why this is the way it is. So we are participatory in a system of oppression willingly. And we're all participatory in it. Even some of anybody who is using computing technology. If you're using an Apple, and I'm guilty of this as well, the cobalt that's in it, it didn't come from Texas. It came
Congo.
It came from the Congo, and they are literally causing wars and things there so that they can get cobalt at pennies on the dollar. And we're all participatory in that system, and it's difficult.
And again, this is that selective outrage. Remember, we talked about selective outrage. Hello, we are where some people talking about Palestine. I get it, the Palestinian conflict. I get it. However, don't be selective in your outrage.
Exactly. You can't.
There's stuff going on in Africa right now that people are dying every day. The child abuse, all the stuff that's going on in the name of our technology and the resources that we take out of that continent. I may almost said country because we don't want to be foolish. Africa is not a country; it's a continent.
Exactly. No, and so the thing is, and it's hard. So we're not pointing fingers here because we're in an ecosystem that is so deeply entrenched in some of those things. It's sometimes difficult to remove yourself. But here we are talking about, okay, so he called Puerto Rico an island floating of garbage. What's the first thing we did? We went to our phones that contain cobalt to tweet about it on a platform that we shouldn't be using it. So we're participatory in the system. But sometimes we are so deeply entrenched in it, it's hard to get out. So that's why I'm not really pointing fingers. I'm asking us to take a deeper look at what it is we're doing and what it is we use and what is fueled by hatred's money. So that's one thing. The second thing, so I wanted to share something because as soon as I said, they're talking about journalism. I've got to get on now. So
that's right. You are a journalist.
In addition to media, I am a journalist. And so the latest Gallup poll that came out last week is talking about, they do this poll every year in terms of Americans' trust in media. So it's been lower at some points in history than it has in others, but right now, according to Gallup, it's Americans continue to register record low trust in the mass media.
Yes.
There are, where is this one? Okay. 31% expressing a great deal or fair amount of confidence in the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly, which is similar to last year, 32%. So, but that's 31% of those surveyed. That's not a lot, right? So that means that there's 69% out there that feel differently. And then for the third consecutive year, most U.S. adults have no trust in the media at all. That's not most, more U.S. adults. So that's 36% have no trust in the media. So that's of that 69% that have talked differently or answered differently about having trust in the media. And so this kind of speaks to everything we're saying. Why the hell do you think they don't trust? Look at what happens when you get on. You have journalists coming on talking about pagers blowing up. Would you trust?
Right.
So now you're looking at all the, I don't understand why they don't trust us. I do, because you're daft and you're fools, and you don't see that the way you report has a direct effect on whether or not people accept what you say. And you're 100% correct, Elise. All of these, and I always teach this in when I teach mass media, that, and it keeps changing and it gets smaller and smaller. But I remember when I first started teaching, I'm like, most of the media, there's very few independent media outlets. Most of the larger media are held by like the 5 same companies, and they keep getting bought. And so let's just take a look at what happened with CBS and Viacom. They split at one point, right? But now they're back together. And what does that also mean? That's all of CBS. That's all of Paramount, right? Because CBS All Access uses now Paramount Plus. So this is a whole ecosystem. Same thing when you look at NBC. So the old traditional old guard media, they now have a whole lot of properties underneath them. Disney, you think you could get away from Disney? That's ABC, that's Fox, that's a whole lot of different things. So when we look at media, that's why I'm reluctant to say the media, because there's so much and so many different outlets. However, many of them, the larger ones, are conglomerated under a few companies. So this is why you have to be careful. And the same thing with and I know tangents, but we look at Tubi, and I know we all laugh at Tubi, like, look at that terrible movie on Tubi. Look at that. But by and large, we see a lot of, quote, Black projects that have gotten onto Tubi, people that have gotten deals. And I know some people who have gotten deals to get their stuff on Tubi. Well, who owns Tubi?
Fox.
Fox.
Fox owns Tubi. And Fox and you bring it up because also most people do not know that Tubi is their highest grossing platform that supports everything else that they do.
So on the backs of
power,
Black people,
y'all.
On the backs of Black people, remember what Dr. Phil at that Klan rally, excuse me, the rally for the Fuhrer, excuse me, whatever that was, Dr. Phil was talking about hardworking and DEI. Well, you got to where you are off of
because
the back of a Black woman, Oprah Winfrey. So if we take that same thing, Tubi and Fox, you're getting to where you are off of the backs of Black people. So I'm like, we just need to use, as my mother says, can we just use a little bit of common sense? When it comes to these things, and we need not fall for all of these things, because we also don't do enough research. So any five and dime judge who gets on, we will believe, because we're too lazy to do the research. We have to stop that. I'm sorry, I come off my soapbox.
No, your soapbox. We love to pull your soapbox out.
I think we also have to stop looking at DEI the way they have defined it. As Black or color. Dr. Phil was a DEI
He was
hire.
a DEI hire.
And I think that people have to understand that diversity inclusion also includes when white people are brought into other people's spaces. And they are one of the few in that space. I think that they've turned it into a racist thing. Whereas,
just like
DEI is automatically Black.
Just like
the word woke. Black.
They and keep spinning the narrative.
Because I was like, wait a minute, didn't Oprah give you the opportunity? And this is the thing that drives me crazy about Dr. Phil, is that he is totally sold into Trump. I mean, if you ever hear him speak, you just can't believe it. And you sit there and say, wait a minute, how could you hate people of color so much, or support someone that hates people of color so much, when a woman of color, Black woman, gave you your opportunity? You would not be Dr. Phil if it wasn't for Oprah.
Can I add why?
Yes.
I think I know. So there is a concept called locus of control, right? So what he has, and he should know this as a fake psychologist or whatever the hell he is. When you have an external locus of control, you attribute everything that is good that happens to you, to your own worthiness, to your own self-worth, and bad things to outside sources. So it's not that Oprah gave me a chance. It's because I am such a great psychologist, a great individual, a white individual, whatever he thinks that that is what got him to where he had not, and does not attribute that to Oprah. So he has this external locus of control. However, when things go badly for him, or if something goes badly for him, he will most probably attribute that to forces outside of himself, because it couldn't possibly be him. So locus of control, that's what that is.
You know, I'm digging deep in that one. That is, I'm writing that one down.
You know, when we think about this, and this is gonna maybe sound a little interesting. It made me think, when you said that, Dr. Tachi, it made me think about wet nurses, the enslaved wet nurses who raised these children, who grew up to hate them, who treated them badly. Because now I have the control.
I have the power.
You have the power. So what you saved my life, you made sure I was nourished, but I have the power.
Yeah.
And indirectly, it had nothing to do with them. Right.
But also think about the callous that had to grow over people's hearts for that during slavery time, that this Black woman fed you, nursed you, took care of you, held you, rocked you, played with you, and then you have to turn around and hate that person and treat them, beat them, create havoc on their lives, tear them apart from their families. I mean, there's a that's a whole, oh man, I would love to dive into that one day, but that is some kind of crazy.
That's what
right? You have to work hard to fight against the thing or the person that showed you love and concern and connection, and to really fight against that, you have to really break your inner core and reshape it.
And Ron, to your point, this is hard. You all know about epigenetics.
I've heard the term, but I don't know about it.
Yeah. So again, I'm not a geneticist or a scientist, but epigenetics is that whole concept that over time, trauma and certain things become ingrained in your DNA.
True.
So it doesn't mean that you cannot change it, but if you don't work to change it, it can remain. So when it comes to things like, okay, they talk about post-traumatic slavery syndrome, how over time, this is trauma that has been learned and has become part of DNA. So it's a real thing. Why would we not think that that could happen the other way when it comes to things like hatred?
It's true. It's very true.
I think it's true.
So
they said that's they say a lot of colonization has caused all kinds of trauma that is with us to this day in our society. So all the people that were taken advantage of, raped, pillaged, killed, all that stuff, all that trauma, kidnapping, tearing families apart, hardcore labor, that has I remember reading about that is all passed through our DNA. I didn't know the term. I didn't know the title of the term.
Yeah, but also from the other side of it, sorry to interrupt, but from the other side of it, epigenetics from those that are the oppressors. If this is the way you have always done things, and this is the way you think about individuals, why would that not start to become part of your DNA? And it doesn't mean that you think it's right. It's just something that maybe start to become innate. So like I said, with epigenetics, the thing is you can fight it, but this is why it's such a struggle. And I'm not making an excuse, but this is why it could be such a struggle for people who exhibit these types of racist behaviors to really fight and unlearn. So to your point of this is somebody who fed you and nursed you, and now I have to hate you. I'm fighting tooth and nail to fight against it, but it's difficult because it's starting to become part and parcel of who I am. So it's deep.
And that's how, that's how they were groomed to be. They're groomed to be that. They're groomed to hate certain groups of people. And and I always tell people that we suffer from PTSD and don't really recognize it in the Black community. And some people talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's post-traumatic. We just have post-traumatic things to deal with that we don't realize till it surfaces. So you may see someone walking down a sidewalk and a group of people approach you, group of white people approach you, and you step aside. That's a part of that grooming, right? That's a part of what we're talking about. Is you automatically, you're like, why did I move? And I started thinking, like, I'm not right now. Whenever I walk down the sidewalk, I don't move. I just keep walking. If I'm holding my spot, and they'll tend to spread out across the sidewalk. I just keep walking, and somebody's gonna move. They're either gonna part or they're gonna get together. And I started doing that intentionally because I realized how much we were moving to the side, stepping in the grass. Why am I doing that when they?
I said the same thing.
That's a part of what has come up through, as Dr. Tachi said, through our genetics.
Yes,
that's how we were trained. That's how we were conditioned to be.
This is the interesting thing. When I was in undergrad, I was in an African-centered organization, and we had like a rites of passage process. So we were told, and they're like, you don't move off the sidewalk for anyone. If you just look straight ahead, they will move for you. And so we started doing that. And one time I heard this guy said, yeah, you better move because they don't move for anyone.
Wow.
It makes sense. If you just look straight ahead and keep walking, moving, people move out of your way.
That is, on that note, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to do my lesson. That was, man, this was such a good, thank you, Dr. Tachi. That was, man, I got some homework to do. Thank you, Adrian, for putting that up there, that terminology, the information there. Epigenetics, and I love it. I cannot wait to dive into this one. That's what's beautiful about community, is because we all contribute and we all grow smarter together. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick because I have to do my photography. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm letting you all go for now. It's photography time. Oh, where is my photography page? There we go.
Thank you, Ron.
It is time to let my ladies go. I just love hanging out with the ladies over here. You guys.
Thank you.
I love you. Okay, love you. We will be talking more. Tomorrow we have a guest speaker, for our Wisdom Wednesday. So we'll have a guest tomorrow, but we will pick this back up on Thursday.
And I hope you all will come join me tonight at 7:30 for my artist talk.
Oh, great. Artist talk with Elise. So make sure you do that 7:30 today. And that will be on Instagram. On Instagram.
I haven't made to the other side yet, Dr. Tachi.
Thank you, Elise. Bye. Okay, ladies. Okay, they're leaving me. Oh, thank you. Isn't it great when you see community? Oh, I tell you, that is great. Okay, let's start. Let's do our lesson real quick and then we're out of here. But before we start, also remember that if you are interested in photography, let's get there. I am an event photographer. And if you are interested in a photographer for your event, your corporate event, your church event, whatever event you do, you need a photographer, reach out to me. I am there. I can do your project with love and care and get you some great photography for your event. Also, we want to also thank our sponsors from Rolling Clouds, Patreon community, Aramits. And if you want to be on this wonderful thank you sponsors list of sponsors, just make sure you just reach out to me and we can do that. You can join through our Patreon, but we can also talk in other ways. Also, if you're interested in learning photography, I teach photography virtually, and you can learn how to photograph your world with my conversation with you, teaching you how to become a better photographer. Okay, there you have it. Okay, are you ready for the lesson? For all you photographer lovers? This week is Halloween. So let's talk Halloween. Mastering Halloween parade photography. Let's get this in. Let's get it in. 1. With Halloween approaching, it's time to gear up for a spooky, fun, and fantastic photo opportunities. Here are some tips to help you master photographing your city or town's Halloween parade. Scout your location. Find a spot with a clear view, avoiding backlight from street lamps. Say that again. Find a spot with a clear view, avoiding backlight from street lamps. A good way to do that is to really, I do this as a photographer, as I do photojournalism, as I'm out in the streets and I'm roaming around taking photos of things and then, of subjects. I always find a lamppost anyway. I find a lamppost and I get under that lamppost. So that way, if something breaks out in the crowd, I have the lamppost to undergird me and to hold me steady, and that the crowds, if they're running, they can run past me because I am now safely tucked around the lamppost. Number two about the lamppost is that if you stand under the lamppost, guess what? It gives you light. So as the parade is going through, because most Halloween parades are at night, so you want to get that light. So the light coming down from the lamppost will give you the light to photograph your subjects. So you're killing two birds with one stone using the lamppost in your city or town. Next, dress appropriately. Blend in with the crowds to capture candid shots. Costumes encouraged. Now, when I go out to, I'll be out here in New York City, we have our Halloween parade. I will be out there. Usually, I keep mine simple. I usually wear one of my football jerseys and maybe paint my under my eyes black or whatever, and act like I'm a football player. And believe me, I am acting. So I just kind of keep my outfits, my costume very simple so I can take photos. I usually have a team hat on that matches. So I'll wear one of my teams and then put the hat on. But then my hat is usually backwards so I can easily put my camera up to my face and take pictures. For those that still do that, because some people just hold it in their hands and take pictures. Or if you have a smartphone, you can just do that as well. Okay, so next one. Capture the atmosphere. Don't just focus on the parade, photograph the crowd, decorations, and spooky details. So what I like to do when I'm photographing parades is I like to look down to the left of me and I like to look down to the right of me, and I photograph the people engaging, laughing, yelling, getting into the music. There's some kind, especially Halloween parades. They have like in New York City. There's this one group that does the Michael Jackson dance, from Thriller. And it's like usually about 100 Thriller dancers, and they do their dance walking down 6th Avenue here in Manhattan. So I know that's coming. So, but you not only take the pictures of the people going down in the parade or dancing in the parade, but you want to catch the people as they're interacting with the people that are dancing in the parade. So that way you tell your story. Remember, photography is about telling your story. Okay, next. Use a fast shutter speed. Now, that's kind of difficult in night light, but make sure for those that have your regular cameras, like the professional camera or the cameras, you can change your ISO. Bring up your ISO. Don't be afraid of the grain. Don't be afraid of the grain. It is still better for you to bring up that ISO so that way you can get the picture. But also, parade floats and participants move quickly. So set your camera accordingly to avoid blur. How does that happen? Again, like I was saying, bring up your ISO, let more light into the camera, or I should say, allow more light to your sensor to be more sensitive to the light. Let me be more correct there. And then you can then adjust your shutter speed on how fast you want to get it up there. I usually use in a parade, usually around 200 to 300, usually 250, 320. That's usually because if they're dancing and moving, 320 is my safe spot, my hot spot. And I just bring my ISO to coordinate with that. Okay. Next. Get creative with angles. Shoot from high and low angles to add drama and uniqueness to your shots. Okay, make sure you do that. Different angles. Don't shoot just head on or in front of someone. Move around. Take pictures from below. Take pictures from the side. Take pictures from up and down. Okay, there we go. Next, edit thoughtfully. Make sure you use your apps. You have apps, Lightroom, Snapseed, Adobe Photoshop, all of these different editing tools. Use them to make your photos better. Folks say, Ron, do you ever put photos out without editing them? 90% no. 90% I edit all my photos. 90% of my photos are edit before I put them out into the world. Even if it's a little edit, because I just may want to need to crop it. I may need to just add a little extra color to it because I shoot in RAW. For those that don't know what RAW is the best way to photograph because you can have control over everything that's in your frame. You can control the colors. It's like using sliders in a music board. Okay, next. And these are some pictures from parades. Get close, good details, focus on faces, costumes, right? The whole, whatever the holiday, but this is Halloween. Get in there, dive into it, look at it. Okay, here we go. Enjoy these tips and have a hauntingly great time sharing your Halloween parade with the world. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more photography tips. So make sure you do that, guys. I hope that helps someone today. I hope that when you get out there and photograph your world, the parades that are going on this week, pretty much on Halloween, there's going to be lots of parades around the country. I don't know if they celebrate Halloween in other countries. Do they? I don't know. Is that an American holiday, or do they celebrate Halloween in African countries or the Caribbean? Or I know in Europe they celebrate Halloween, but do they celebrate in other parts of the world? I do not know. If so, let me know. Let me know what countries out other than Americans and Europeans celebrate Halloween. Don't know. I am stumped on that question. Okay, guys. So if you have an answer for that question, put it inside the comment box. Put that in the chat. I hope that this was great for you. Thank you for joining me for this amazing time. Thank you, Elise, and thank you, Dr. Tachi. Thank you, Gwendolyn, for popping on today. This was a great, great day of conversation. I appreciate you all. Tomorrow we have a special guest. I do believe Michael Young will be here for us tomorrow. He is an amazing photographer. And so shout out to him. We're going to have a great time tomorrow and dive into the life of another photographer. Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. What do? We live life like we mean it. And what? We focus on what matters. See ya.